Welcome to episode 9 of the Humble Togs podcast. Most photographers never think about dating photography as a niche. Georgie Greene did. And now she's built an entire business helping people get better photos for dating apps, especially men who've never really liked having their photos taken or simply don't have any good photos of themselves. In this episode, Georgie and I dive deep into really interesting conversation about building a photography business in unconventional ways. We talk about how she went from a 23-year career at the ABC to picking up what she calls a proper posh camera just 5 years ago, and somehow managing to completely reinvent herself through photography and build a business with zero ego. And she's gone so far already. I think one of the best things to take from Georgie's story is that she just is a hard worker. When we talk, you can tell she's put a lot of effort into her website. She's learned SEO. She's learned how to do her own Google ads. She really obviously is a hard worker, and it goes to show that if you're a hard worker and if you put your nose to the grindstone and do things without ego, go out there and do shoots that aren't paying you very much money. As we get into it, she shares her experience about doing over 130 shoots on a low-paid photography platform she describes as learning professional photography on steroids. As I'll say in the episode, it's not something that I would have ever thought to recommend to do, but sure enough, the way Georgie tells it, it's not a bad idea. There's so much in this episode about confidence too, not just about photographer confidence, but client confidence. We compare our styles of how I photograph a lot of actors and she's doing dating portfolios. And essentially that's kind of the similar style of shooting. It's just that generally actors are more confident and generally her clients aren't. So the way we approach those two styles of shoots is a little bit different, but fun to talk about. We also get into dating photography as a growing niche. It's worth looking at, guys, if in your town, if there's so many other photographers all doing babies and families, if there's no one else around shooting specifically for dating profiles, it's an easy way to get to the top of Google if you're the only one around doing that. We talk about why authenticity matters more than perfect posing. We talk about balancing creativity with business, SEO, Google ads and organic traffic, all the things that make up the important parts of that puzzle. Why photographers need to understand marketing in the first place. Because if you don't understand marketing, if you don't get your marketing wheels moving, business just won't survive, guys. Business is almost more than 50% marketing. And we talk about how sometimes the fastest way to grow is simply by saying yes and getting those reps in. This one's practical, funny, hopeful, and honestly a really refreshing conversation about building a photography business without pretending you've got everything figured out. Here's Georgie. Introduce yourself, Georgie.
Hi, I'm a headshot photographer and I do personal branding and then I do dating photography and a bit of food.
Yeah, the dating photography stuff, we've talked before about this, is very interesting as a niche because not many photographers I come across that really focus on that. And certainly there's a great market for people out there that just want nice photos for their dating apps. How has that business gone for you?
It's been fantastic, actually. Definitely a gap in the market because I found there's a lot of straight men who just don't have any photographs of themselves and they need them for the apps. And everyone does dating apps these days. I get some actually good looking guys who just don't have any photos. And I just make up for lost time and do a shoot with them and give them lots of photos and hope for the best that they find someone on the apps. But yeah, it's been fantastic. I have my own web page and then I pushed on Google and I was on the first page of Google. There wasn't very many other people doing it. Yeah. And especially women. There weren't any women doing it. Right. I think that the majority, it's really men who want photographs. They actually quite like a woman taking the photograph because you give the woman point of view. Right. I think that was the key, really. Yeah. Because I was a woman.
I think that men would probably feel more self-conscious to go to a man because maybe that feeling of having to, compete with another man, that kind of, machismo stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite funny because you have all ages. I have like 20-year-olds, I have students, I have 60-year-olds, I have majority of men. I have had a few women recently, which is quite interesting. It's just every kind of age, a real wide range of people who want it done.
Yeah, I just think you've really hit on a niche there that many of us don't really think about. I mean, I've had people inquire with me over the years to say, oh, can you do a few photos? But if you're top of Google for that particular search term in Sydney, I think you've done an amazing job with that.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really pleased with it. I have been on the apps myself, so I really understand. Right. Yeah. And that really helps. I know the insecurities men have as well. So I really put that in my webpage.
Yeah, great. How's your photography journey been and what's brought you there?
Actually, I picked up a camera, proper a posh camera, as I call it, 5 years ago this month.
Yeah.
And I've been at the ABC and I was a production manager for 23 years. So I sort of was dealing with making television productions and spending millions of dollars a year on that sort of thing. And I was quite high up the food chain, but I got made redundant, as you do. You get to a point where there's nowhere else to go and you get given a good package. And then I always used to love photography and I always did it on my phone and I always had a camera, but I just never had the time to work out the posh cameras and I didn't really want to spend the money. And suddenly I had the time. And so just did an online course, which was really good. I got this tutor, he's Australian, but he was in America. I just went through this professional photography online course and it was during COVID, so it was quite perfect that it was online. I just went out and felt like I had to make up for lost time. You meet with photographers and they go, oh, I've been doing it for 20 years, 30 years, and I've only been doing it for hardly any time. But the thing I found was I've always been creative. There's always been an artist. You can see some of my paintings around. I did history of art for my degree. And so I'd really studied the best compositions in the world, really, from doing history of art. And so I knew what a good photo was. I knew what good light was. I knew what a good composition was. So I just found that I didn't have to worry about that side. So it was actually learning the camera. Once I did that, then I got more confident and I was amazed at the shots you could take. It was amazing. But I started with wildlife. When I'm walking around parks and
that's how I started, taking photos of pelicans and the beach.
Yeah, they were my first models.
Yeah.
How can make that creative shot of a bin chicken?
Yeah.
They're actually quite cool birds. Actually, they're brilliant. Their shape, their style, they're hilarious, and where they find themselves, they're great. Very photogenic.
Yeah, birds are great. I remember there was a shot on film when I was learning photography that was just the bottom half of a seagull. It was like I'd zoomed in and it was just from the chest to the feet, and it was just the texture of the feathers and the concrete behind it, and it was one of my favorite photos. I loved it.
Yeah.
Learning that stuff and figuring out how you can compose different shots to focus on detail is great.
Yeah, it was my absolute learning, and just walking around Tenniel Park Botanical Gardens. And the thing I found as well was I was very open, like I'll try this, I'll try that. I used to go to a lot of workshops, and actually I find that Sony, when I first bought my camera, honestly, I just had no idea. I went into DigiDirect and I just went, hi, can I have a full frame camera, please? And they went, oh, you should have this Sony. Oh, can I have a zoom lens, please? And they said, oh, you should have this lens. And I went, okay, fine. And it was like the quickest sale out.
You had the package, busy package to payroll it.
And so I just went, but the thing is, it took me months to get the camera out of the box. I was so scared.
Right.
And then when I did, and then I just started taking photos. Actually, I've got a photo on my Instagram. I took of myself in the mirror, taking my first picture with the camera. So it's kind of like my timestamp of when I first started doing photography. Then I just found that because I had a Sony, sorry, Canon users out there, but they've got this brilliant community behind the scenes, and it's called Sony Scene, and they have some great people who run it. And there's so many workshops. Of course, they're trying to sell cameras, but the people behind the scenes, they're just so helpful, and they just do these brilliant workshops that cost hardly anything, really, for what you get. I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah,
and so I did a lot of those and met a lot of other photographers and found this amazing community, and I loved it. And I found the people that you meet, every gender, every race, every walk of life, it was amazing, and we're all together bonded by cameras and photography, and I loved it. But I found as I kept going, I thought I'm going to just try and see if I can do it professionally. I am quite a bit of a people person, and I found that a lot of my photos I used to take of my friends would suddenly find themselves in their Facebook profiles. So I did the course and everything, and I was sort of taking photos and taking friends and taking anyone who wanted a free shot, really. But I had quite a good portfolio together of shots. And I applied for this app called Snapper.
Oh, yeah.
Which you get paid absolutely nothing, but it's the best experience I've ever had. All you had to put was 6 photos of a portrait or 6 photos for food or 6 photos for dating. And then suddenly you were on there. People could book you.
It's like Uber for
like
photographers.
Uber. The thing about it, which was good, wasn't like I could dictate the time or the place. The client said, okay, I want to be in a grey car park at 12 o'clock, please. Can you turn up and take some portraits of me? And I'm going, grey car park. 12 o'clock, horrific, but then you had to do it. You couldn't just go, well, actually, I think you should do it at Golden Hour, and maybe you should try have a nice park, it's a nice green. You had to just do it, and then you had to take the photos and deliver. So it was pretty full on.
Yeah,
And I did like food. I did stuff for DoorDash.
Yeah.
All that lot. It was great because you got free food. I was just doing all these portraits, headshots. Then you'd have to go back and have to edit all the photos, give all the photos to the client. And you got paid about $135 for about 5 hours work.
I would tell most people to run away from a thing like that because it sounds like they're absolutely taking the piss.
Yeah, they are taking the piss. But the thing I found every time I went, okay, but I'm getting paid to learn.
To learn. Yeah, great attitude.
Thing I found as well was that I had the scenarios. You saw all the worst scenarios you could have. And sometimes they were great. You had to sign your life away, your rights away, everything. But the thing is, some people can't afford a photographer, so it's got a market, definitely. But I met some great people and had some great experiences. I did it for about 130 shoots in about a year.
Wow.
So I felt like it was learning professional photography on steroids.
Yeah, that's a really great attitude.
Yeah.
I hope anyone listening to this might think about that. And honestly, I wouldn't have thought to recommend anyone that's starting a Humble Togs Club or starting in photography. I wouldn't recommend doing a whole bunch of stuff like that for free. But I think you've changed my mind on that.
Well, it wasn't for free. It was $135.
That's basically free.
But it was funny. I don't know how I got into it, but I saw it online and I found I was having an interview with someone in the Philippines and the next minute I'd been accepted. And then they said that only 5% of people who apply get accepted. Some of the other photographers are amazing. When I wanted some personal branding done, I reached out to one of the other photographers and I had a go at being the client to see what it was like.
Right.
And he's actually a fantastic photographer. There are some really good photographers on it, and they are really just starting out. I also did a course on how to do websites. And so I learned how to do my own website, and I created it myself.
Yeah.
Then I learned a lot about SEO, doing the website, doing the marketing, and then doing a bit of photography. But you had to do that to get established, to get going, and learning about your brand, like why you do the photography, what is the main thing, I mean, is to give someone an authentic photo. I want to help people to get on in their lives, and I've got the tools that can do that. So I've had my career. Now I want to give back, and it's quite an important thing for me. I don't really give a shit about the money, really, to tell you the truth, although the money comes. It comes.
Yeah, sure. That's a great example for anyone in the club because a lot of the members are on that bottom end and just starting to earn some money and struggling with full-time jobs. It is hard if you're in that position to be, oh, great, I'll go and do a bunch of shoots and not be paid much for it. But that is inspiring to hear that, yeah, if you just want to get good at something, you just got to do it, right? That certainly gives you the excuse to be able to do that.
Found as well that then I had to do my own pricing. And the thing is, I just benchmarked because with headshots, corporate headshots, there is a going rate really of what people want to pay in corporate, and they are looking for a good value. It'd be great if you had some really rich clients that just didn't care about the money, but really at the end of the day, they've got a budget. And I know from being at the ABC, we have a budget, we have to really benchmark, and you don't want to undercut your competitors and look to their website, saw what they had on, what they said, what they did. How could I be different to them?
Yeah. What was that experience like? What did you find and how have you tried to be different?
I think I've tried to be different because I'm very fast. I can get a photo out to someone very quickly and I'm into making it really authentic as I can. And also I spend a bit of time more on the thing I find when I look myself up on AI, which is quite good because it is what I want. Is basically a lot of corporate photographers just go click next. Who gives a shit about the actual person? They probably don't. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration. Sorry. The thing I do is I don't really like doing them. I call them ship them in, ship them out, which I did it once with another headshot photographer who wanted me as a second camera. And we did 50 in a day. I went, oh my God, 50. I had someone next to me with the earphones telling me the next person that was coming and how long I had. It was just unbelievable. But I prefer to do more boutique shots with about 20 people max and then really concentrate on themselves. And because everyone is really a robot when they first start being photographed, they're like deer in a headlight. Whereas if you spend the time with them, you have a laugh, just make it fun, like go, don't worry about this. I'm here to help you. We're going to just do this until you get the right shot. Then you get people to relax because I say to people, what were your best photos of yourself when you're on holiday and when you've had a few drinks? Because you're relaxed. And that's what I try and do. And I concentrate on the actual person. And if you notice in my website, a lot of them, they look like they've had fun and they've enjoyed it. And I find that I like when people say, I wasn't looking forward to this, but I actually had a good time.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of bring the best out in somebody, the actual person, because once you've set up the settings, it's the same every time on the camera, and you're collaborating with that person, and they own the image as much as you do as you're taking a photo of them. You can't just go click next. That's what I do, and I can emphasize that on my website.
Do you have a bag of tricks for breaking someone down at the start of a shoot?
Actually, you know, it's quite funny. One thing, I was listening to one of your things, and I do this as well, but you did it as well, is I just do a little sort of this awful laugh. I go, like this.
Makes people laugh. It makes people laugh.
And I saw you and I went, that's hilarious, because that's what I do. But I just do this really like pathetic laugh. But usually the thing I do is I get people in front of the setup, and you're just the body in front of the camera. I'm just doing the lighting and just doing the composition, and they get used to it. Then I go, we'll just do a few robot shots. But the main thing you must do is show them on the computer. So I have a laptop with Sony software. I don't need to tether it. It's just on Wi-Fi. And I just show them the laptop. And then as soon as they see the photo, they go, oh, my God, is that me?
Let me just go through that. On a location, you take your laptop?
Yeah, I take a laptop.
You show them the test shots, is it?
No, I make sure I kind of like take a few shots until I'm happy, and with the lighting and everything. Then I show them, and they're usually sort of like this initially, or they're robot-y. And then you show them the shot, and then they go, oh, my God, is that me? Wow. Hey, that's cool. And they can see what the process is. They can see the results. And then you see them relax.
Yeah.
And the next shots are fantastic. That's really important. You must always share, because it's a collaboration. It's not just the photographer and the subject. It's both together. You can't have one without the other.
That's really interesting. There's a lot of photographers that do this with some computer or laptop, and they'll tether or however they do it, and they'll show the clients the photos as they're shooting.
Yeah.
I never ever show people the back of the camera. I also don't really even look at it for a couple of reasons. In my world, like for actors, if I do show actors like one photo, inevitably I can see in their eyes, they just start overthinking and going, oh my gosh, one of my eyes is bigger than the other. I need to do this more. Like they just go into overthinking mode. So I've found that just by not showing them, it does a couple of things. Number one, it just exudes the confidence that I know that we're getting the shots. I always do, and I always keep shooting and looking through the viewfinder to get the shots. And once I know we've got them, I'm like, great, let's move on. And I'm hopefully instills the clients that I work with, okay, Kurt's got this, and we'll just move on. Oh, cramp.
Yeah. Oh, you got cramp?
I had my leg under the chair. And I did a full cramp. I was, ow.
No, you have to bend your foot, bend your feet.
Totally
just
one of those
bend
ones,
your
yeah.
leg.
Yeah.
You're right. Oh, poor you.
We did a photography for a dance school yesterday in Melbourne, and had a couple of mornings of getting up early, and then this morning was up at 4 a.m. to get up to Newcastle, and then we've taken my daughter to school directly from the plane. My body is just a bit tired.
And sitting in the seat.
And sitting in the seat, all right.
Yeah, oh, poor you, sitting in the plane. Have you had enough salt? I think
Probably not. I need more water, honestly.
But you know, one thing I think, interesting that you say that, because with actors, it's quite rare, but if I've done an actor or a TV presenter, because I do know a few from the ABCs, I have done a few of them, and they're so confident. And the thing I'm finding is I have to do Joe blogs off the street who doesn't get their photograph taken probably if they're lucky ever or once every 2 years. And they're really conscious of themselves. So they have to see the process. It's quite funny, I find, with dating photography, especially with men who've never had their photo. Like I had this guy as dates, actually a really good looking guy, had really good chiseled features. He looked really good in the camera. And he just couldn't believe the shot that I was getting. And the confidence is unbelievable. And the happiness that comes out because they've seen the photographs. It's fantastic. And that really helps me. But then I remember once doing an actor, and he was so cool. He was great. But you still have to produce the goods to make someone look flattering. Whereas with actors, majority of them, they've probably got a bit more confidence than the people I have to photograph on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, though. It's funny because I've shot actors from a basic kind of just starting in the industry all the way up to very famous in musical theatre and performers around the world. And a lot of the top of the industry and the people that are very experienced are also very relaxed and whatever. But there's also a level of insecurity, even among people that are very, very, very successful and very famous. Because their careers are so hinged on things like how they look and how they're perceived by the public. It's a funny thing. Confidence is a thing that a lot of actors have, but also insecurity goes hand in hand with that. And
I found that when I was at the ABC, I met a lot of actors and people in front of the camera, and they come across really confident and know what they're doing. But really, I see everything behind the scenes. It's a different story. But it's kind of interesting. There are just different niches that people go down with the headshots, even though people think, oh, you're a headshot photographer. There's so many different different sort of headshots within.
Yeah. You should call yourself a headshot photographer, right? But your main business is the dating, which you don't think of when you think of headshots.
And I do personal branding because the thing I'm trying to do is trying to beat the AI, because people are getting AI headshots. They're just going to get better and better. But the thing with personal branding and dating, you can't just put AI things on your dating app.
Well, it's not going to go well for you if you do. Yeah,
No.
but turn up and the lady's like,
Yeah, I'm sort of like trying to future-proof. And the personal branding is basically dating photography. I used to have it under my branding page. When I made the separate page, that's when it really hit off, because usually it's women business owners that I do personal branding. It's just trying to find that audience, the client that you target. And I wasn't really targeting dating people in my personal branding. So I just did another page and put on pictures of men.
And you said, obviously, you find a way with SEO and all that kind of stuff. What other marketing do you do? Do you run any ads?
I do run ads. I do that because you just get rung up by all these people going, do you want to Google ads? In the end, you sort of get succumbed by someone who's good at selling. And then it made sense, because if I got a headshot shoot and I got $1,000, but then my Google ads are $1,000 for the month,
$1,000 a
then
month,
it's paid for themselves.
Yeah, totally.
And they have actually, I get double on the amount of money I spend on Google. But the thing I find is that I actually learned how to do the Google ads myself, because I basically got flinched a bit by a company who gave me no information. I didn't know what they were doing. You just had to pay them some money. I didn't really see very much results. So I managed to escape out of them. It was difficult to get out of the contract. And I learned how to do Google ads. I did it myself. I found somebody who I trusted, who I knew what they were talking about, to run the ads. I can go in and I understand the data. So I really advise people to do that. Just get some YouTube videos and learn. It's not that hard to do.
Do you run anything meta? Any meta ads?
No. The thing I find, I prefer to do Google ads because people are intentionally wanting. Whereas I find with social media that they're just by chance they might come across. And I find, honestly, the Google ads have been brilliant. But also, I think when I look at Google Analytics, I really work on my SEO. I really work on the organic. I do social media. I do ads. I put myself on a lot of business listings. Really get yourself on those. That's a really good thing. When you're doing alt text in your websites, I write things like, by having his dating shots done. And then I write, by Sydney dating photographer Georgie Greene. And then I find my images, they're in the Google search. I see loads of them because I've done the alt text. It's really important. There's so many different pronged attack on what you have to do to get yourself out there. Google ads were good, but you can't really depend on them. And also you've got AI coming down the road. And I find with my website, that's the thing. You've got to get that really humming. There's a really good guy called Alex, and I think he has this company called Foreground, and he does website orders, but he has this brilliant newsletter every Tuesday. It comes out about photographer websites specifically. He does that, and he's brilliant on what the advice he gives.
Great.
The main thing with the website is, you know, who you are, where you are, what you offer, and then how to get your offering within 2 seconds. That's what you've got to do. Actually, it was quite interesting the other day, Kirk, because I was watching, you had a thing about putting really big photos on rather than little ones.
On the website.
I thought that was quite interesting, actually. But I found that maybe it's a difference between actors and Joe Blogs off the street. They try to put on as much diversity in every way, so that I'm hoping that one person will resonate with one photo on it.
And you're not doing prints, right? You're not selling prints for your clients. So I think whilst I do actors, headshots, and my photos are big on the website, I also mainly talk about that for people that are selling portrait shoots, like families. Because if you go to a family website and all the photos are little on the screen, you're just putting the client in the mindset of that they're going to buy little prints. It's more along that lines that I was talking about that. This has been an awesome chat on the marketing side of things and the business side of things. Tell us about Georgie. What are your life goals in the next 5-10 years? What are you working on?
Well, I'm from England, and I came to Australia 31 years ago. And I came with like a green rucksack, and that was it. And then I just stayed. I had a working holiday visa. I managed to get residency. And I managed to do my career here in the ABC, which I loved. It was a fantastic place to work. I loved it. It's great. People, fantastic. And then suddenly in your life, things change and you get made redundant and you have to reinvent yourself.
Totally.
I'm enjoying being a photographer because the one thing I love about photography is that I just used to sit at a desk in front of spreadsheets. And then I didn't want to be in a situation where people had to come to me or I had to go to a few meetings. with photography, I get out and about, I meet people, I go to places I've never been to, I see different light, variety. It's fantastic. And I'm just really enjoying this journey that I'm on. And I feel that you're always learning, and I don't know what's going to happen next. I'd like to do some photography holidays where I go to India. I'd like to go to Japan, Rajasthan, and Zanzibar.
Photos for fun, travel photography, yeah.
Yeah, you go with a group of photographers, so you can talk about photography, talk about like SOs and f-stops. What lens have you got? Because I love traveling, but you could have a purpose when you do travel and then come out with some great shots.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm just enjoying, I love living in Australia, the best move I've ever made. It's just things evolve, really. I mean, like from when I was doing Snapper in the concrete car park at 12 o'clock, it's evolved since then.
I was thinking before, and I didn't mention it, there's another website kind of in that same genre called Thumbtack. And it might be in the US. I've definitely used that, and I hated it because they ream you on the money that you spend on. The business structure sucks. But I've absolutely gotten clients from that have been in profit mode on the shoot, but then those people, because I've been good at my job, have had me back for years now, and I've made thousands and thousands of dollars off getting a good lead. So there is value to those websites, even if at the time they feel like you're getting reamed. Just getting the connection with people, getting a shoot booked isn't a bad thing, and definitely safe for anyone listening out there. If you're struggling, maybe that'd be a place to get into just to start some shoots, even if they're paid in a low amount. At least they're paid, because I think a lot of people struggle going from just doing free shoots for friends to charging anything. So maybe that's a good stepping stone too.
I feel like I have actually turned a corner with friends, but now I do not like doing friends. I don't like doing it because I feel that you have to give them a deal, or you have to do it free because they're your friend. But really, I'm doing it as a business. So if I'm going to do friends, I just do them free. But then why should I do it free? So I just said, right, I'm not doing friends anymore. It's just awkward. Whereas at the beginning, that was brilliant. But now I just can't do it. I dread it when a friend rings me up and goes, can I book you? And you just feel awkward. What do you think about that?
Well, I've still done weddings for friends. I'll give them a price, like a discount. But like weddings obviously take so much time to do. But like other family shoots, people ask me to like, I'll whip out your camera. But most of the time, my friends know that I'd rather be sitting around having a beer than pulling my camera out. Having said that, for actors, because a lot of my friends are actors, generally pay the normal price. I don't really give a lot of discounts. People will just pay whatever. And kind of my ride or die is like my absolute besties. I never charge them just to do a few actors' headshots here and there.
Yeah, I just find it's just a bit awkward. Like a friend of mine wants me to do a passport photo, and you're sort of going,
I've done that. A friend of mine came into the studio one day because he needed a passport photo and took it. And he was one of these guys who's like just never had his photos taken. He was like, this is the best photo I've ever had taken of me. And I was like, I didn't even try, mate. It's just, that's what it is. You're not even allowed to smile in those photos. So that was a fun one.
Yeah, that's good. But I think beginning it's good, but now I feel like I've turned a corner on that, and I've just put a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Just now, I'm quite glad because it's just awkward though.
Yeah. We'll wrap up the chat. This has been lovely. But thank you for being on here, Georgie. It's been really interesting to record all these different podcasts from the members. There's lots of different people in the club. And this has been a great one for talking about getting your business going and doing that SEO and the website stuff. I'd definitely love to talk to you more about that stuff. I've done a bunch of SEO training as well. So yeah, I'd love to be able to get some more of that in the club for the people that are ready to attack that world. I know there are a lot of people that haven't even built the websites yet. So we're just building up that and figuring out how to do that. But even before you build the websites, it's also important to figure out what you want to do. And for you, like having a real goal, well, I'm going to do photos for dating apps. It's a great, great thing to be having that message because number one, it's easier to get to the top of Google when there's not many people trying to do that business. If you're out there and again, trying to figure out what you want to do, find a niche that's specific that won't have a lot of competition because it's a great way to start.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good surprise, but it's like just one of my strings, my bow, because I do like lots of other things as well. And then that's the thing is don't put your eggs in one basket.
Right. Right. But having a bread and butter gig that you're like, that's always just going to give me the bread and butter to be able to go off and do more interesting stuff or whatever is great too.
And it's more creative as well doing dating photography than doing headshots.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that one, the Indian guy who was turned full profile on your Instagram the other day. And I was like, I've never seen in the headshot world, I just wouldn't turn my client so far full profile. And it was just a really interesting and beautiful shot that I thought, wow, what a great way to just be creative in that space. I literally just would never put someone on that full profile. Now, like you said, your artistic and painterly art history side is maybe coming through there because it had a feeling of painting for a dating thing. It's very unusual. I liked it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was good to do that shot. Yeah.
Where can people find you, Georgie, online?
I'm just on georgiegreenphotography.com.
And Georgie's Georgie.
And then Green with an E.
Green with an E.
End. Yeah.
Great. So find Georgie online, guys. Follow her. She's amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. I really enjoyed it. You're so generous in the knowledge that you give people and the patience you have with everybody. I think it's just a really nice space. You've sort of seen it, the Humble Togs Club around, because you do so much social media, which is great. And then it's really nice to meet you. That was great. When I met you in Sydney, I just thought I had to join. It's just sort of nice to have that support, because sometimes it can be a bit lonely being a photographer trying to do it. You're just battling away.
100%.
Especially with SEO websites and stuff. And it's just nice to have someone that people are there. It's great.
Yeah, I really found that same thing, because I used to have the studio with 5 other people working all the time. And then when you're working by yourself at home or in a little office, it's a real valuable thing to be able to share with other people that like-minded and whatever. And yeah, I definitely think that's a great part of the club too.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks again for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might need it. And if you'd like to check out Humble Togs Club, it's a community for photographers who are actually going to support you. The details are in the show notes, or you can go to www.humbletogsclub.com. Please also like, review, and give us some stars on wherever you get your podcasts, and catch you on the next episode. Stay humble and keep chasing awesome.